Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Unfiltered commentary. Not your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Welcome back. Governor Abbott signs executive order expanding vaccine mandate ban to any private entity. It's the oldest debate since the founding of our country. Does the states have the sovereignty over its own state, or does the federal government have overreaching powers that go into every state where one size fits all? It's been the debate since the Constitution was written and adopted. Now, my lifetime, I was born in 1956, ever since basically Woodrow Wilson, but it's certainly accelerated in the 60s that the federal government has tremendous overreach. Overreach, just the founders would be aghast. But does Governor Abbott have the right to do it to private entities? I had a private business for over 20 years. You can't do anything you want to. You can require that all employees have a driver's license. Well, does a driver's license pertain to any of the jobs they do? Oh, no. Well, can you do it? Probably not. The list is endless. You can't do anything you want to. As far as business goes, probably, but it's a gray area to be sure. Does the private business have the right to put rules and regulations on its employees that go against their civil rights? No. And who gets to decide that? Washington? State governors and legislatures? It's been an issue from the beginning of the country. I think the states, unless it really, really, truly goes against the Constitution and some of the major U.S. laws, i.e. civil rights, I think the state should have the say. The federal government doesn't tell the states who can get a driver's license. So the debate goes on. After previously issuing an executive order prohibiting state agencies from requiring employees to get vaccinated, Texas Governor Greg Abbott has expanded the ban to include any entity, including private companies. Citing President Biden's recent edict mandating vaccines for businesses with more than 100 or more employees nationwide, calling yet another instance of federal overreach. Well, it's a two-tiered system. If I have a business with 98 employees, I'm exempt. Special rules for this group, less rules for this group. That's a two-tiered structure. And that's something we're supposed to be against as a nation and as people. Two-tiered structure. Two-tier. Some are exempt in New York City from their vaccine passports. And I am not, repeat, not anti-vaccine. There is not one Republican governor in this country that has come out against vaccines. Period. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, every single governor has had a vaccine shot. So that's not what this is about. This is about mandates. That's what the progressives don't get. And if they're not persuasive enough to convince the millions of people that haven't got vaccinated, maybe they ought to change their tactic besides beating them over the head with a stick. That's what government is about. That's what persuasion is about. And they don't want to do that. Oh, we're not going to take the time to persuade who needs it. We're just going to tell them to do it. It's just easier. I'm their parent, and I get to tell them what to do. I don't have to explain to my little kid why I'm doing it, and that's their attitude. As healthcare staff, law enforcement officers, and other essential workers have resigned en masse in protest against vaccine mandates, Abbott is appealing to his emergency authority to stop workplace disruptions that threaten Texas's continued recovery from COVID-19 disaster. Here's the weird part. If it wasn't for the red states, the so-called red states and their governors, President Biden's economic numbers would actually be worse than they are now. If that's even possible, they would be. He's shoring them up in some ways. It's amazing to me. And those of you that say, well, it's Trump, he's the one that's anti-vaccine, nonsense. Every time I've heard him in public at rallies or in private interviews, he always says, I'm not anti-vaccine. I've had it. I encourage everybody to get it. Now, he might have a different reason than just health, which I'm sure he does. He doesn't want people to die. Nobody does. Oh, except maybe you're progressive. You want the people to disagree that it die. A lot of them do. But he was president when the vaccine was put together. Operation Light Speed, he wants to take credit for the vaccine. So either way, it comes out the same. He's not anti-vaccine. Consult your physician. Even if you've had COVID, sit down with them and figure out what's best for you. It's not brain surgery. No entity in Texas could compel receipt of a COVID-19 vaccine by an individual, including an employee or a consumer, who objects to such vaccination for any reason of personal conscience, based on a religious belief, or for medical reasons, including prior recovery from COVID-19. That's incredibly important. Now, if your doctor says, well, yes, you've had COVID, yes, you have antibodies, I still suggest that you get the vaccine, that's between you and your doctor. Make the best choice for you. I hereby suspend all relevant statutes to the extent necessary to enforce this prohibition. Any private business that fails to comply with the order is subject to a penalty, and it goes on and on. And what I like about this, Abbott has added the issue to the agenda of the state's legislature special session. If the executive order is codified into law, the governor will revoke the executive order, according to the governor's press release. That means he wants the okay from the state legislature, unlike what Democrat governors did, including New York, where I live. Now, I don't live in New York City. I live upstate, thank God, which is like Mars compared to Earth. Upstate and New York City are just totally different planets. Never got the approval of the state legislature. And I know some people in the state legislature personally, because I used to be a city councilman here in upstate New York early 2000s, so I'm friendly with some. I never saw a piece of legislation passed by the Senate or the state assembly doing the executive orders. Abbott's doing it the right way. You may not agree with him, but he's getting the approval from his legislature, as it should be. Now, I'm not going to read this word for word, and we can go into the debate, I guess, in a way that it's a private enterprise. How dare you, how dare you interfere with a private business and all that good stuff. And here's the author, Caroline Downey, is a reporter for National Review. She's usually very good as a rule, and I think she's good on this one too. I think she got to the heart of the matter. It's the age-old debate. States, if you look back in history, even those that don't agree with me, the states are the ones that came together that created the federal government. Now this monster that they've created is out of control, and they need to reel it in. This has nothing to do with vaccines. This is an issue of the federal government having one size fits all for every state, which the founders rejected. I mean, they were adamant about the fact. States' rights. And this isn't about slavery or the Civil War. This is about the states have sovereignty over its own people. We're going to see what happens. We'll see how far it goes. I'm a big believer in states' rights. Even though I live in New York and they come up with some back crap, crazy state rule, they have that right. Unless it interferes with somebody's personal civil rights or other things that are in the Constitution. The states can determine things like this vaccine mandate, things like abortion, many other things. The death penalty. The death penalty is a state-by-state directive. Back in the 70s, it was waived by the Supreme Court, and that's why people like Charles Manson and all that end up getting life in prison, but that's a different issue. The states have sovereignty over it. The federal government doesn't determine who gets driver's licenses in a state. The states do. And that's their right, and it always has been. So we're butting heads with a monster that was created by the states that got out of hand. And like a child that's out of control, they need to reel it in. So congratulations to Governor Abbott. I've been very critical of him lately because I think he should have put the whole 19,000 National Guard troops in his state. on the border. But I digress. We'll see how this goes. I hope he doesn't back down. And I hope that other governors follow his lead. There's strength in numbers. We'll see how this works out. Until next time, folks, goodbye and good luck.